The story of Sega is one of the most chaotic, daring, and influential journeys in the history of entertainment. Long before they were a software company, Sega was the rebel of the arcade and the living room. They were the brand that stood up to the giants and told the world that gaming didn't have to be safe, soft, or family-friendly. They proved that gaming could have an edge, a speed, and an attitude that defined a generation. Sega's origins were far from the pixelated screens of the 90s. The company began by providing coin-operated games and jukeboxes to military bases. This background in heavy-duty hardware gave them an advantage when they moved into the booming arcade market of the 70s and 80s. While other companies were making simple puzzles, Sega was building massive, hydraulic cabinets that moved and tilted. They brought us the high-speed thrills of Outrun, the cinematic combat of Afterburner, and the martial arts mastery of Virtua Fighter. Sega didn't just want you to play a game. They wanted you to feel like you were inside a machine. But the true battle began when Sega decided to take on the home console market. In the late 80s, Nintendo had a near-total monopoly on the industry. To break through, Sega launched the Mega Drive, known in North America as the Genesis. They knew they couldn't beat Nintendo by being the same, so they chose to be the opposite. They launched the marketing campaign that changed everything with the slogan "Sega does what Nintendon't." They targeted teenagers and young adults, positioning the Mega Drive as the cool, edgy alternative to the family-oriented competition. At the heart of this revolution was a blue blur. Sonic the Hedgehog was more than just a mascot. He was a statement of intent. He was fast, he was snarky, and he represented the technical power of Sega's hardware. The blast processing of the Genesis allowed for speeds that the competition simply couldn't match. For a few glorious years in the early 90s, Sega wasn't just a competitor. They were the kings. They held the majority of the market share and forced the entire industry to grow up. However, the very thing that made Sega great, their relentless desire to innovate, became their biggest challenge. In an effort to stay ahead of the curve, they began releasing a dizzying array of hardware add-ons like the Sega CD and the 32X. This confused consumers and frustrated developers. By the time the 32-bit era arrived, Sega was fighting on too many fronts. The Sega Saturn was a powerhouse for two-dimensional gaming and arcade ports, but it struggled to compete with the new 3D-focused machines from Sony and Nintendo. Sega's final stand in the hardware world was the Dreamcast, released in 1998. Even now, decades later, gamers speak of the Dreamcast with a sense of awe. It was a machine years ahead of its time. It was the first console to ship with a built-in modem for online play, bringing the world together in games like Phantasy Star Online. It gave us the quirky genius of Seaman, the graffiti-spraying style of Jet Set Radio, and the epic storytelling of Shenmue. The Dreamcast was a love letter to gaming, but the industry was changing. The arrival of the PlayStation 2 and its DVD player was a tidal wave that Sega simply couldn't hold back. In 2001, Sega made the difficult, heartbreaking decision to exit the hardware business. Many thought this would be the end of the company, but instead, it was a new beginning. Sega transformed into a third-party publishing powerhouse. The unthinkable happened. Sonic the Hedgehog appeared on a Nintendo console. The rivalry was over, but the spirit of Sega lived on. They doubled down on their arcade heritage while embracing new, complex narratives. This transition allowed Sega to find a whole new audience. They brought the Yakuza series, now known as Like a Dragon, to the world, offering a deep, cinematic look at Japanese culture and drama. They became a titan of strategy gaming with the Total War series and captured the hearts of a new generation with the Persona franchise through their partnership with Atlus. Sega proved that their strength wasn't just in the plastic and silicon of their consoles, but in the creativity and boldness of their developers. Today, in 2026, Sega is experiencing a massive cultural renaissance. We are seeing a new era of Sega where they are reaching back into their incredible vault to revive classic franchises for a modern audience. There is a renewed focus on the high-energy, arcade-style gameplay that made them famous in the first place. They are no longer just a gaming company. They are a transmedia giant, with successful movies, animated series, and a legacy that spans generations. The story of Sega is a reminder that success isn't always about being number one. It is about the impact you leave behind. Sega changed the way games were marketed, the way they were played online, and the way they felt to the touch. They brought a sense of cool and a spirit of defiance to an industry that desperately needed it. Whether you are a veteran who remembers the first time you heard that iconic Sega chant at the start of a game, or a new fan discovering their world for the first time, the legacy is clear. Sega never played it safe. And because of that, they changed the world of play forever. Thanks for watching.